influencer. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. Let's start again. Got it. Okay, so we're going to start over. I think it just clicked in. My name's Amanda Frazier, and I have been an educator and an influencer for Formula 18 for many, many years now. And today I'm going to go over how to do the lived-in blonde. Katie, my beautiful model, she has extensions in, so this will be a really great educational course on how to highlight or round extensions. Of course, you can never really bleach extensions. You never want to put bleach on extensions, but this will be a great opportunity to show you how to do a lived-in blonde with an extension client. So I thought it would be best to start off with what products I use from Formula 18. So before I start any service, any like color service, any bleach service, anything, I always use our professional treatment spray. Now I put this all over, and I will actually just keep it on my tray, and I will spray each section as I go through and just brush it and distribute it through evenly. And what this does is it basically protects the hair before you start any bleaching service. I also use our famous reinforcement right here, plant-based reinforcement. And before I mix the bleach, I'm going to go over how I do that. I put all of my wet ingredients in first, and then I put in my dry ingredients. So let me set this down right here. So today with her, since she is a pretty light blonde, as you can see, she's in between like a 7 and an 8. So I'm probably not going to knock her up above a 20. I am a fast foiler. Some people like to go a little bit slower. So what I like to do is I like to start from the front, because a lot of blondes, they love to have the brightness around their face. And I also like to put peekaboos underneath. So I tend to put my foil under here first, and I foil around the face first to add to that brightness. Everybody loves that. Also today, I'm going to show you guys how you don't have to over foil for a lived-in blonde. When I worked in Vegas, I worked in Nashville, I see a lot of artists that feel like for lived-in, you got to do tons and tons and tons of foils. You really don't, okay? Work smarter, not harder. You know, in this industry, it is about time and efficiency. So I like to really leave. I do fine baby weaves, and I do some subtle drops. So today, I'm actually going to place my panels starting at the front of the hairline. So I'm going to start from here and work my way up towards the top of the head right here. And then I'm going to start over here again on the other side and just keep going vertically. I'm also going to put in one subtle money piece. So everybody I know is kind of scared of the money pieces sometimes. They can look what we call skunky. So I'm going to show you how to not have a skunky money piece, but to just have some really beautiful blonde that pops right there above the eyes. And I'm also going to show you guys about when you're in the panels in the back. Some people tend to leave these little corners out. And I'm going to show you guys how even when you do just a partial, how you're going to still put some foils right here. So you have those beautiful peekaboos when they put their hair up. And I'm also going to do what I leave out a triangle, okay? So I like leaving depth right here, okay? It's caused reflection, okay? So whenever I put my foils here, I like to say it's like a triangle upside down like this, okay? I leave this triangle section out right at the occipital and just kind of pointing down right here, because that creates depth and dimension, hence a dimensional blonde. So you don't need to overfoil right here, and you certainly don't need to overfoil in the front. I like to do the pattern going this way, because it lays really natural and organic, and it just, when your hair grows out, you don't have this harsh line of demarcation as you get your grow out. So your clients don't have to come in as often, hence the live-in blonde. So today I'm going to show you how we start with mixing. So Formula 18 sends you these amazing, awesome bags, okay? It comes like this. So I like to dump it out in the bag. This is how you activate it. Now I'm using the bleach pattern. It is dust free. It's got a great fragrance. You can actually use it off the scalp. It has a built-in toner, and it's got up to 10 levels of lift, okay? And what I can tell you about this, I was just telling Katie this story. This is amazing. It can lift out any type of pigmentation. Like I've had clients come in with box dye black, and it really can lift it pretty much 5 to 6 levels without jeopardizing the integrity of the hair. And it really does tone while you place. I'm not using this today, but whenever I do, I like to tip out my clients on the bottom or do open air balayages. I like to use a white lightning powder, which is right here. Now, my favorite part about this is it does have a great base, but it's more of a creamy consistency. Still 10 levels of lift, just more creamy. And I do like to make it a little bit like of a thicker viscosity. I like to have what I call peaks when I'm mixing the bleach. So when you open air paint, it doesn't run throughout, and you can just section it and just keep open air painting. But today we're just going to do your standard foil, and I'm going to show you how we start mixing. So you like to always stretch your bag first before you shake. You're going to shake it just so you can activate that bleach. And I like to put in my wet ingredients first. So I'm going to use the plant-based reinforcement right here. By the way, you can use this for great coverage and color. I've also used this in my Fashion Color Vivids for myself. So I'm just going to put a couple of raindrops in, just like that. Don't squish it, just raindrops. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start, since I'm a fast spoiler, if you're not a fast spoiler, you're going to want to start with a 10 volume, work your way up to a 15, 20, 30, vice versa, whatever you want to do. But since I am kind of a faster spoiler, I'm going to start with a 20 and then hit her with a 25 towards the back part and make sure she processes evenly. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my 20 volume developer, formulating cream developer. I'm bad. I just unscrew the lid. I don't have patience. So now I like it a little bit thicker. Now there is some recommendation mixing right here. But I have found that I just like mine to be just a smidge thicker. And as I go through, forgot my scoop, so I'm just going to shake. I like to go through and just kind of add a little bit more bleach or a little bit more lightener as I go along. I'm just going to mix that in. Okay. Bit more. I want some peaks, but not too thick. All right. So I am all about ergonomics. I've been doing hair for so long. So I got these amazing little combs that actually help with the weaving process. I started getting like little cramps in my arm from weaving all day. So I found these amazing combs to kind of help me stay consistent or have to weave as much. So I'm going to put my very, very first little panel right here. Okay. So I'm going to pull about this much. Oh gosh, I got your ear. I'm going to pull about this much out, and I'm going to place my first panel right there. And before I do that, I'm actually going to, of course, hit her with my treatment spray. Okay, so since I already have a little bit of a little micro weave right there, I'm just going to place it. And I never, of course, if you guys are all seasoned artists, you know you never want to overlap your bleach. So I'm just going to hit her with her new growth right there. Now, I never do an origami foil. I had this amazing mentor, and he taught me that you're taking more time by doing origami foils. So I literally just fold it so it's not on our ears so we can still talk during the service. Now I'm going to pull the rest of it down. And now I'm going to do just a little bit of a subtle little drop just around her face and her hairline right here. Now you can see that her weft is right there. So of course you're not going to want to highlight the weft. You're going to want to clip that out of the way. With this beautiful little hair that just wants to come over your face right now. So I'm going to do a little micro weave right here. And I'm just going to keep going. So I'm going to do a baby weave, coil it, do a little bit of a drop, and just keep going. Now I like to blend it. I am like all about there not being, when you do root melts, you never want to do root melts, root taps, any of that to conceal sloppy highlighting, okay? And I always told my assistants this, like, you want to blend, you don't want to just slop it on the foil. You want to take, I like to use just your standard Fermar brush. It's really soft. And I like to hold the panel like this and blend that bleach line, okay? That way, when you go in to give her that lived-in blonde look and you have to do your root tap or your melt, that way you're not basically covering up sloppy highlighting. That is not what a root shadow, a melt, or a tap is for. No offense if anybody does that, but no sloppy highlighting, okay? You want to keep all of your bleaching and your panel super clean. So see, I'm not going to origami my foil. And now I'm moving up to where her extensions are. So I'm just going to hit it to protect her extensions with the treatment spray. Okay, so now since I am coming up to her extension right here, her little corner one, I'm just going to flip up and I'm going to coil around that weft right there. I'm just going to clip it up. And it's a Kroger shoppers. You never find a Kroger near you and start shopping and saving today. So again, I'm going to do a little slice. So there's a drop right here, right above her ear. So I'm going to leave this out because I've already got these panels right there for her little peekaboos. I'm just going to do a little baby weave. Separate it out. You may have to be my foiler because my box will not pop. It won't. I got you. See, it's like stuck in there. Thanks, sweetie. You're welcome. What I do love about our bleach is it doesn't, like what I call like mushroom up. Like sometimes you'll see it over time, like when you let your bleach sit on your tray, you'll start seeing kind of looking like a foamy consistency. Formula 18 doesn't do that. Like even if you're like a slower foiler, like you'll look down in an hour and it'll still be the same consistency. So again, micro baby weaves. I am just foiling on her brown, never overlap your color. Hold the corners of your foil and blend that line so it's a seamless blend. Now I like to go under and just tighten it. I mean, this bleach doesn't spread like a lot of other bleaches, so you don't have to worry about it popcorning or anything like that. Now, as you can see, she's got her weft right here, so I'm not going to highlight that, okay? But what I am going to do is she's got all of her hair that is pulled through the bead. I don't know if you guys can see that right here. You can highlight that. So I'm going to click this back. I'm going to come back in with my treatment spray just to protect that bond, or the bond's right here. And I'm just going to just take the section that has her real hair pulled through those beads. And I'm just going to do a little baby micro weave. And I'm going to separate it, and I'm just going to highlight this. Thank you. Now, what I like to do when I do have the beads secured, any extra little hairs, you're going to want to back comb them out, okay? And I'm almost going to kind of do like a foliage technique right here because you don't want to get bleach in the beads. I hope you can't hear the commercial. Alexa off. Okay. Sometimes she hears me, sometimes she doesn't. Alexa is very moody. She's selective. She is selective. Okay, so I'm just gonna fold over that foil, and then I'm gonna pull down that weft, and then I'm gonna move on. So now this is what I like to do. So I like to do about 4 panels and then flop to the other side, okay? That way it develops evenly. Sometimes I kind of do 2, 2, 2, but I don't want you guys to turn you this way. I don't want you guys to get dizzy with that. So I like to do that because then you can remember how your foiling pattern, you can remember how you laid your panels, and then they do process more evenly. I'm gonna be like leaning into you right now. Sorry. You're good. You're good. You're good. Oh yeah, you got my foil. I have this habit of constantly reaching over to the tray. Right? Okay. So again, we're just going to leave. We are just going to leave your foil open. Don't sandwich it. It just takes longer to pull it off with the bowl, and you want to be very efficient. I'm going to keep the same pattern that I had on the other side. Moving this way, if that's helping you. Do that. I'm going to move my bleach like right here. Oops. Okay, so I'm leaving a little micro drop right there. Little baby weave. And then I'm going to pop the foil in. Don't overlap that color, or that's kind of in the way of the camera. Here we go. So I'm on panel number 2. I'm doing 4 on this side, and then I'm going to show you guys how to hit that money piece, okay? All right. I feel like I sound like Stevie Nicks with my bracelets hammering. All right, so baby foil or baby microwave. I'm gonna place that foil. Again, do not get it on the web. Blend it right there. And you don't want to get it too close to the root because we are trying to maintain that lived-in look. I'm on my final panel before I move up to micro money piece that we're gonna do. So let me get her beads, foil her beads in there. There we go. So I'm basically gonna leave the hair out that's underneath the beads right here. And then I'm going to do my little foliage to make sure that those pieces coming out of her web are still getting hit. I think a lot of people are kind of almost scared to do highlighting with extensions, and you don't need to be. If you're like me, my clients kind of come in anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks for their move ups, but you've got those girls that just love to be blonde and don't want to come in quite often. You can still highlight in between your bump ups, okay? Don't be scared of that. Okay, So now I am not one of those sectioners. And if you are, that's great. My mentor that I had, he always taught me to follow the shape of the head. Sometimes I find like, there might be some sections that were left out, from a previous artist or from you or whatever. And if you have it clipped or sectioned out, you're not gonna be able to pull that section in. So I like to really just kind of move along with the shape of the head, but to each his own. Now she's going to have her forward for you. Oh, yours too. Okay, so I like to leave these little baby hairs right here out, okay? And the reason being is, you can see that, the reason being is I cannot stand when I see spunky money pieces or anything like that, and you see this line from your chunky money piece, okay? So I like to just kind of follow the shape of the hairline and just take my comb and kind of pull out these little baby hairs right here, okay? Now the first foil I'm gonna pop in, it's gonna be very itty bitty micro, okay? I'm gonna have to get a clip right here because your hair's just so thick. Okay. Okay, so here we go. And I'm just gonna leave that itty bitty little piece out. And then of course, I like to kind of do a little bit of a small little weave, leave some of this out, and then we're gonna highlight this. Now I've already sprayed the treatment spray all over her hair. So I'm not spraying like right in her face as I'm teaching. Again, just on the new growth, you never want to overlap that bleach. You're going to want to blend it down just with the corner of your brush. And then for visual purposes, so they can see, I like to origami this front piece so they can see. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, some people kind of forget to hit this part. You never want to do that because you want really a seamless blend around the front of the hairline, okay? So I'm going to pop a little foil in right here and right there, and then I'm going to start my panels going back towards the crown, okay? Okay, so as you can see, you want to be able to see through. I might need to move this a little closer so they can see. You want to be able to kind of see through your strand right here, your slice is what you want to call it. And then whenever you do your little weave, you still want to be able to see through it, okay? So see how I can really see through that? You want these very subtle, so as they do grow in, it's not like a harsh line of demarcation, okay? Keep blending down to the foil. I always like to flip it over on that hairline so you don't get any what we would call holidays or peekaboos or anything like that. Bleeds. Make sure it's just secure, tighten that foil underneath. So this is how your pattern's gonna kind of look, okay? Now I'm gonna do it on, so sorry, Katie. No, you're good, that's not bad. All right, so our same little peekaboo right here. Oops, sorry. Yeah. That same pattern. And the reason that I like to alternate side to side is because sometimes you can, especially when you're carrying on a conversation with your client, you can kind of forget what your foil pattern is, especially if you're doing highlight lowlights. So that's why I like to kind of rotate, keep the panels even. Sometimes I'll do 2 and 2, 2 and 2. I might like make my clients busy, but at least I know that their foils are going to process evenly. Okay, so now we're going to start moving on top of the head, okay? So whenever you do start doing your pattern going this way, you're gonna want to start kind of following the shape of the head. So this is when, for me, sectioning gets in the way, all right? So for instance, like over here, I'm gonna want to put a panel right here. If I would have taken that quadrant out and sectioned it, you know, I would have to unclip it and then kind of pull it out. So if you just follow the shape of the head, it's actually, for me, works faster through your foiling process. I'm also going to show you guys some little weaving techniques when you start moving up to the top of the head to give it like a really pretty even flow. All right. Blend it down, make sure there's not a harsh line. Always want to pull out that blonde so it doesn't get in the foil. Pull out your little tail. Now see how I'm not origamiing it? That way when I'm at the bowl, I can pull them out and back away from the client's face as a courtesy. You never want to put armpits in the face when you're pulling out foils. So you just want to be able to just pull the foils out. And if you origami them, you can't do that. So I'm going to keep following the shape of the head. So now there's this little bitty section up here where I put the money pieces that we don't want to leave out. So of course you don't want to section out the hair where you're going to have hair kind of pulled into your foil and that causes bleed. So you're just going to want to gently place like a little bit of a foil right here and then continue your pattern going up towards the very top of the head, okay? The reason I like to pattern it like this is because when they flip their hair, if they're hair flippers, I know all the girls are doing like center parts right now. If you were to do it like up here, that's a really great look for those really dramatic blondes. But if you're wanting lived-in, this is the perfect placement for it. So I'm going to go ahead. This is when I'm going to start doing like my drops. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a little bit of a drop right here in front of those panels. And of course, I want this panel to line up with her extension. So that way, whenever she has her hair down, this isn't like a lived-in brown drop. And this isn't like a platinum, like next to the platinum blonde. So this will seamlessly blend into her weft. So you really got to, if you do have a client with extensions, you got to line up your panels with that weft placement, okay? Okay, so we're just gonna boop, 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 put this foil in right here. I keep reaching for my foil over there, like muscle memory. You want me to like pull them out? No, you're good. You're good. So I'm just kind of blending with the tip of my brush where there's like little bitty darker pieces. All right. So there. We're gonna do the same on this side so you can see there's her weft right there. You guys can see I'm not knocking it over. So her weft is just right there. So I'm gonna want to put my foil in line with that weft, okay? Line it up, boop, boop, boop. So it's in line with that. Now, you're going to want to leave out this little front section right here because we're going to pop a foil right there to keep our pattern consistently going back. Oh. There's our drop, and there's our weave. Oh my gosh, I just slopped it on you, sorry. The number of times I do that in a day. I know. Oh, good. There. And I just keep blending down each foil, blend, 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 blend. Make sure we don't have a huge line of demarcation. Blend it out of her face. I call it a conversation fold. All right, so now we've got this little front part because you don't want to leave this out, okay? So right here, I'm going to pop some panels to just make it easier, keep bleeds from happening. So I'm going to do a little, just regular horizontal slice right there. I'm going to do a little micro baby weave out of that horizontal slice that I just did, okay? Now I don't like to plop a lot of bleach on my brush. I kind of like to do some, like a little bit of a, kind of a, how do you call it? Slice it up. I don't know if you can see my bowl right here. So I like to kind of not plop a lot on. So I like to wipe off a lot of bleach so you're not slopping on too much bleach in that foil. And then you can just do your blending without having way too much lightener inside your foil. All right. And I'm going to do another one, and then we can start our pattern just going back to our top of point of our head right here. Okay. So I'm going to do a little slice. I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to weave this. Tighten that foil. Okay. All right. So now we're going to pick up our pattern again, following the shape of the head. So we're going to do a slice, a horizontal slice, and then a micro weave out of that slice, okay? Blending down only where the new growth is. If it ever overlap these, that's where you can compromise the integrity of the hair. We do not want that. Now this is when I'm gonna, when you go up to the top of the head, this is when you're gonna want to start flipping them around. Just so your foils process evenly on top. So horizontal slice, again, you don't want to get the extension in there. All right, I'm just gonna, since I hit her on this side, we're gonna just spray some more of our treatment spray. All righty. Now, whenever I'm doing this, I like to really put some tension on the strands of the hair. That way your foil is secure. It doesn't slip whenever you're blending. So as you can see, I kind of put some tension on the strand. It keeps it from slipping. So I'll hold the hair in like a little bit of a knot right here with my fingers, and then I'll secure it with my pointer finger to keep it from sliding as I'm blending. And again, you don't want it all the way to the root, okay? We're gonna maintain that lived-in blonde. And then we're gonna flip her back around again. Move it that way so we can see this over. So slice. If you can see how I say I'm slicing. Here's my slice, okay? Micro baby weave out of that. So tension is key because you got to blend. You don't want it, you don't want this really harsh line of demarcation, especially with your lived-in blondes. That's when you get into that what I call sloppy foiling. And then back around again. All right, so now since we are moving up to the top point of the head, this is where I want to stop right here, okay, with my foiling. And I'll show you guys how I'm going to put some panels back here and some peekaboos underneath. And I know some people probably think, wow, she's really angling that. I want it to be angled because when the hair falls down, you see typically these portions of the head, right? You're going to see a side part, you're going to see a middle part, you're going to see another side part. But if you do it this way, no matter where you part it, it has this really natural, organic, lived-in flow, okay? So there was my slice right here. As you can see, it was a pretty heavy slice. We got these. Do my microwave. Now, when you do your weaving, a lot of people are taught to do it right here at the base of the head, okay? You never want to really do that, okay? You want to like shake out these baby hairs. So you want to really do your weaving down to the mid of the strand right here, okay? That way you leave out those baby hairs and that leaves it, that makes it a really pretty, like subtle lived-in blonde. Not having every single baby hair in at the base of the scalp. Again, if you have any little baby hairs, you're going to want to comb those out. Now, I like to take my bleach and place it kind of more towards the center of the foil and then start blending it up. I never take my bleach and just directly, you guys can see that. I never just take my bleach and just go plop right on the top of foil. I like to put it midway through the foil like this and then start feathering it up like that and then do my blending. That way you're not like worried about the bleach coming outside of the top of the foil, okay? Go back over to the other side. Always like to sing that song, run, run, baby, run, run. Okay. So your sections will get smaller as you're moving up towards the end of your placement pattern right here, okay? So the crown section, you never really want to overfoil on the crown. And the reason that I don't overfoil up here on the crown is because people get cowlicks. And nothing is worse is like, especially like when I'm at church on Sundays, I'll see people back of their head. And I will see that they've been overfoiled on where their cowlick hit. So some people, they'll start getting a whirl or a cowlick right here. So if you start overfoiling around that cowlick, I always try to look at their hair and see where their cowlick is. And I really try to place my fills around that. Now, she doesn't, you don't really have any cowlicks.
There's one that pops up over here when we're here.
Yeah, so there's not really any visual up here, but do be aware of cowlicks and don't overfoil on the cowlick, okay? You're lucky. Mine's like right on top of my head. I'm gonna leave it there.
My hair's also freshly clean.
I know.
Thank for that. They don't stick up when it's clean.
Again, I always like to take my comb, back comb, make sure there's no weird little hairsies. Place your bleach midway through. Work it up. Honestly, with our formulating bleach, less is more for me. You don't need tons of bleach in there. Go back to the other side. I'm still maintaining the lineup with the hair extension. That's really important. You don't want to place your panels this way if the extension is placed like in a halo method. Maybe you didn't see that. I have to find it this one. So there's my slice right here. Slice, boop. I'll leave that out. Let's drop. Hope I have enough foils left, but I got some more in the bag. I think we do. Oh, we're good. Yeah. So halfway down the foil, blend down, and then back up, okay? I actually love like what I call it like back blending. I was taught this by my mentor again, that if you blend backwards, instead of going like when you go against the grain, it gives it more of just a subtle blend than placing down, especially like whenever you get up to the top of your foil. Putting you to sleep with my jingle jingles on my bracelet. Okay, moving right back over to this side again.
Something about having your hair play with.
Yeah, exactly. Blow dry too. Okay, so now this is when you're going to want to start looking at the shape of the head. So she cowlicks over here. I can see it. I can see where she cowlicks. It's right here, okay? So I'm going to want to probably leave out that section, that cowlick right there. So keep following the shape of the head. Do a horizontal slice, but going angular up towards the crown. This is when you really kind of have to pull your clips tight as you're moving along the shape of the head. There's my slice and drop. Okay. Best assistant ever. Now to drop it. Okay. Okay, so placement midway down, blend up, corner of your brush. Really diffuse that line, keep the pattern going up towards that crown. Now I'm still using a 20 volume, and then as I crank my way up, when I move to the back under here, I'm gonna just put a little bit of a 30 mixed in with my 20, that'll crank it up to like a 25. So I'm gonna move this back. And your sections will start getting smaller and smaller and smaller as you get to the top of the crown. Drop. All right. I love using pop-up foils, but today they're working against me and not with me. So thank gosh I have my sweet Katie handing them to me. So now if I was a slower foiler, I would already say like you would have already had to kind of bump up your developer a little bit, but if you are like a faster foiler, you can just bump it up towards the back, just one volume or a half a volume. You know, hairstylist math, they call it. So I'm probably going to do a 25. So 20, dollop of 30, makes it about, you know, a 25 volume. So then I'll lift it up here, even process. And also like, you don't want your client's butt going numb. You want to move fast. So I never put her under heat. So every 7 minutes under heat with every minute under the heat with Formula 18 is 7 minutes for normal bleach. Okay. So I honestly will just take a towel, put it over Katie's head and let her natural heat just lift these foils. I never put my clients under heat. It's just not necessary. Even if you tip, you're just going to want to use your white lightning, maybe use a little bit of a higher volume, do your tipping, but don't ever put them under heat. It's just not necessary. Moving up towards, again, the crown of the head. So we're going to do our slice and our baby weave. So as you can see back here, I've already kind of sectioned out, and I'm going to do that right now. That's where I know that my panels are going to end when I'm going horizontally up to the crown. So I'm basically, just so I can remember, I'm going to take this little duckbill, sorry, babe, flip it so I remember to stop right there because I'm going to do my back placement around that weft, okay? And I really like to secure it out of my way because as it gets up here, sometimes your little hairs can get in your foil. So keep up your pattern. Slice, drop, baby weave. Got some pieces. I like to really it to be kind of translucent. Like you can see that when we move in. I like to be able to see my skin through that baby weave, okay? And put tension on that foil. Wipe off your excess bleach. Midway through, blend back up. Use your corners. Make sure there's no demarcation line. Just keep that pattern up. You want consistency in your pattern and your foil. All your panels should all be consistent. All right. Our little foiling is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, as you can see, as we get to that crown section where we're going to end, okay? And I'll show you some little tricks. Now, I've already put a drop where her cowlick is, so we're not highlighting right on that cowlick. I feel like I'm kind of in the way, but when I'm on top of your head, there's not much I can really do. Okay, here we go. Now, as I get towards the top of that, I like to kind of bend my foil in half so it's smaller. Okay. I'm gonna kind of bend this back because I know now this is where I'm gonna stop. This is kind of how I can tell myself, okay, I'm done with that side. Some people have little baby little tops of their crowns, and some people have larger areas and they're kind of flatter. So Katie's got a good head. My panels are gonna lay pretty flat up here. Thank you, baby. All right, where? Okay, so now this is where you're going to kind of examine where you want to start placing your foil. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of put a foil just horizontally this way, and then just a couple more up here. And I'm going to kind of show you how you kind of follow the shape of the head. So I'm going to do one right here because that's where she has kind of her, I guess it's kind of where she cowlicks. So you're always going to see that. So you kind of want to at least bleach this section right there. When I leave my upside down, like triangle out, I start it right here at the occipital bone. Do my slice, my baby weave. Also, some people I've noticed, especially with like newer artists, we've all been there. It's really good to kind of keep your comb in your hand as you're foiling. Like I said, time is everything. So you always want to kind of keep your brush in your hand always. You just move faster, okay? So now I can see that this section is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So to make sure that it falls evenly when it splits and it doesn't look like it's kind of coming to like stripe, blunt stripe. I'm going to, here we go, just slice right here. Again, you're going to want to back comb, make sure there are no hairs in there that you don't want. Blend it down. Now, as I'm going to go back and I'm going to look and I'm like, okay, so now I got enough space for a few more going this way. So I'm going to do a really subtle couple pieces of foil up here. You don't want to leave out the top of the crown. You still want to put some pieces in there, obviously, but you also don't want them to look like stripedy. So you want it to be very blended and seamless. So just do itty bitty microweaves. Even if you have this much of hair in your foil, it's still important, okay? Don't cut corners. All right, gonna go back over, put a couple more.
Oops, pause my button.
So see how tiny that piece is? Don't leave it out. Keep foiling. Don't leave any of that out. You want it to be very seamless, very blended. Probably maybe 2 more foils. We'll see how many I can get in here. Almost to the top. Okay, so some artists, they would leave this part out. See, I'm not. I'm probably going to get maybe 2 more foils, maybe 1 more. We'll see. Nope, we're going to have 1 more. Okay. Now I'm going to actually lay it back this way. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to lay my peekaboo panels underneath. So when I call them peekaboos, so Katie, she's a singer, so she gets hot down there working on Broadway, so she's going to want to pull her hair up sometimes. So even though this weft is right here, I can still place about 2 foils leading up to her weft and make sure those are seamlessly blended, okay? So again, if you can see her weft right there. There we go. I'm going to pull the beads out. So I'm not getting bleach on the weft. I'm going to pull the beads out and I'm going to put about 2 foils leading up to the beads. I'm just going to section out these beads and I'm going to do like a foliage on these and keep it away from the beads. You never, like I said, you don't want to get bleach on the weft. You don't want to get bleach in the beads. That's a big no-no. All right, so got a little peekaboo here. So again, I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to make sure all these little baby hairs are kind of gently combed out. Do a cute little peekaboo foil down here. All right. It's okay. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a tease right here. Again, halfway through. She's got some depth right here, so it's okay. You can like some darkness. You can leave that. You don't have to highlight that all the way up. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to make sure that I can get as close up to the top of that foil as I can for my foliage, okay? And I'm just going to leave out that tail that I didn't bleach. And secure that foil. So now the way that her weft is placed, I really can't put any panels going this way. Typically, I'd put a panel right here and a panel right there, but with the way that her weft is laying, it's just too close to the weft. Besides, you know, she's not gonna pull her hair up where the weft is exposed anyways. So I'm gonna pull my little pre-sectioned bead down right here, beaded section. Okay, now see this? I'm just gonna kind of take the hair that's underneath the beads and I'm gonna section out my little beads. There we go. I'm gonna section out the beads. like that, okay? Now, the hair that doesn't have beads in it, I'm gonna leave out. And then I'm going to foil what's in the beads, which is obviously needs to be foiled, as you can see it right here, okay? And now I'm gonna go in with like my heavy weaver. This is more of my chunkier weave. There we go. And I'm just going to foliage that, make sure there's no pieces of the weft in there. I'm going to back comb what I don't want in there. And less is more. You don't want it to get in the beads, okay? Again, I like to place my brush vertically when I'm blending, so I can just kind of get up close, but not leave like a really harsh line of demarcation right there. Leave out the tail that you don't want highlighted. Now, if she has extension hair, that's going to hold a lot of heat, so these foils are probably going to lift faster. But I put a little dollop of 30 here, so now this is sitting at a 25, so it'll process evenly with the rest of the hair. So now each extension client is different, okay? You know, I'm going to kind of go through and kind of see where if I can pop a foil. And really, I don't need to through here because this is the depth that we want to leave right here. Like I said, I always like to leave in my lived-in blondes. I really like to leave that little triangle section right here in the back of the head. So depth creates brighter blondes. And if you ever see like pictures that you see like everybody uploading on their pages, you see the back of the hair, the prettiest blondes typically haven't been foiled through here every single like, you know, bleach or chemical treatment, okay? You want to leave that out because that gives you the dimensional blonde, okay? So now I have these top panels here, but I'm going to want to pop a couple right above her occipital bone. So I'm just going to kind of go in and find a section that's not got the weft on it, and I'm going to foil around that. Put this up. And I'm going to basically just kind of do a foliage with this section as well. And then back home that, make sure there's nothing in there. Nice, baby. Okay. So I don't want tons of bleach on this section because again, I'm just kind of foliaging it. So I'm just going to kind of place it where I can tell that it needs to be lightened and then back brush it up to blend it. Okay, oops. And now this is where you just got to kind of use your artistic eyes. So I'm going to place one more foil right here beside where her calic is. And then she'll have some really pretty dimension up on top on her crown. But then she'll still have some, you know, beautiful little subtle foliage pieces right here. Foam what I don't want in there. So you can see her platinum kind of starts right here. So I'm just gonna kind of blend it. You don't have to go all the way to the root, but you still want it to look like, she just got a refresh. You don't want to leave too much root out, but just back home enough. The back blend is what I call it. Okay. All right. See. I don't mess up my foil there. Boop. All right. So, believe it or not, that's it. That is my lived-in foiling. So I'm just going to kind of go over the pattern. As you can see, I didn't over foil, but I just followed the shape of the head. I left some drops. I did some micro baby weaves. It's really important for the back of the hair. Always hit underneath for the, I call them peekaboos. And you're going to just want to always leave out this quadrant back here for your lived-ins. Like I like to say, it's kind of like a little diamond like that. And so now what I'm really going to kind of walk you guys through is what I'm going to do next, okay? So I always like to kind of hit her with the treatment spray now, like this. And then, again, I would put a towel over her head and I would let her sit for about 20 minutes. I like to set a timer for about 10 minutes, keep checking, keep checking. I'm not one of those artists that walks away for 30 minutes at a time. I like to kind of see how the foils are moving. When I take her to the bowl, I typically will look at how she pulls. So I like to always pre-fill before I tone, okay? So I like to pre-fill with our toning shampoos. Now, you guys have to excuse me. I obviously use them a lot with our dirty bottles. So if she were to obviously pull orange, then you're going to want to pre-tone with the brunette toning shampoo. I like to really kind of just dilute it with our moisturizing shampoo, emulsify it in your hands, and then you're going to really want to start from the top, mids, work the way down, rinse it out, shampoo it again, and that's your pre-tone. And if she pulls yellow, you would do the same with our violet toning shampoo. Also, when she's at the bowl, I really like to use, this is my new favorite, is the Luxurious shampoo and conditioner. So after I, of course, pre-tone, I decide what toner I'm going to use. I will upload the end of the finishing product on my page so you guys can see it. But she likes to be really like it's like an icy, but really it's kind of like a 9 natural gold. So I would put like a 9 natural gold right here. And then whenever I do my melts, my root taps, I never like to take it darker than the natural root. That defeats the purpose. So, young artists, don't be scared to whip out your swatch book and just match that. Like, I can tell, obviously, looking right here, she's a 9 series. So I'm going to go and hit her with a 9 natural. If she pulls a little warm, I'm going to do a 9 natural and a 9 ash. If she doesn't, then I'm just going to hit it with a 9 natural. So what I like to do is after I've pre-filled with my shampoos, I like to go in with my blonde tone first. I put that all over. I like to take my developer, what do you call it? Developer dispenser? What do you call it? Squishy tube.
This bottle.
Yeah, the bottle. And I like to just distribute it evenly, like all around her head first. Push it in with my hands. And then I like to use a wet brush and distribute it evenly throughout the hair. Then I kind of towel dry the ends. I have them sit up at the bowl. And then that's when I go through, and depending on what kind of a root they're wanting, if they're wanting a tap, I'll just go through and I will tap her in the same way that I foil. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to section her, tap, 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 section her, tap, 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 to really blend all of those pieces that I've highlighted. And then you're going to go in and just going to wash it. You're going to hit it with the Luxurious shampoo and conditioner one more time. And then, of course, my most favorite is the repair mask, and it's actually over at the bowl. But with our wonderful repair mask, I actually do something, I call it mashed potatoes and gravy. So I will have my plant-based reinforcement. I'll have an extra one at my bowl where my back bar is. I will go ahead and squish the Formula 18 mask, put it in my hand, make a little section in the palm of my hand, and I'll put a couple raindrops in mashed potatoes and gravy, massage it, distribute it, and I leave it on for 7 to 10 minutes. And then especially after any like lightning treatments, it's just like an added little bonus. And I like to upcharge for it. So I've always asked, like, would you like a mask at the bowl? I usually charge about 40 bucks, put that mask on, put a hot towel around it. And then when I come back, I use my whole regimen. I'm going to show you guys what I use. So I always use the Formula 18 repair oil. If you guys follow me on my Instagram, I swear by this. I put it in wet, I put it in dry hair, I put it in my extensions dry every day. So this cuts your blow dry time in half. It eliminates frizz. Smells amazing. I have clients that will buy this and they're like, I just want to put it all over because it smells so good. But really, it is just a miracle worker. Any color, any bleach process, you're going to want to have this. And then I also like to use, my other favorite is I like to use the Smooth Style by Formula 18 for my flawless blowouts. And this is my favorite. I've preached this for years. The Enjoy, Protect, and Shine. So, oh, it's this right here. Yeah, Enjoy, Protect, and Shine. It smells like rainbows and ponies, cotton candy, Skittles, whatever you want to call it. And that is my Formula 18 process. So, you guys, I hope I taught you a thing or two. If you want to follow me on my social media, it's Amanda Frazier Hair Vixen. I absolutely love to answer questions for all artists, new, old. I love to learn. That's what this industry is about. So I'm about working smarter, not harder. And I'm a big advocate for Formula 18. And you're going to see how beautifully this lifts and how beautifully the hair is going to look after I get done styling it. And thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you, Katie, as my model. And I can't wait to get this posted up on my Instagram. And again, any questions, feel free to hit me up. I love answering.